Hello, everybody, and welcome back to On the Diamond Into the Deep. As always, I am your host, Mahal, and welcome to episode 69 of the podcast. Today, we'll be talking about a few things. First, we got a big-time win last night from the Seattle Mariners over the New York Yankees. A big walk-off win that felt very familiar to a win a few seasons ago where the Mariners did some things later in the season. We'll then get into Bryce Miller, unfortunately, going to the injured list. And we have talked about this multiple times. We've mentioned it 3, 4, 5 times since 2 weeks ago. In the past 2 weeks, we've mentioned it how many times? So it's not an unexpected thing, but it is something that we will talk about. We'll talk about if the Mariners maybe need to trade for someone right now. Is there someone available that you'd want to trade for? So we'll talk about some potential options there. And then we will close out with a little talk about Game 3 of the Mariners-Yankees series that kicks off in just about 15 minutes from me recording this episode. So, to begin, let's start with Game 2 of the Mariners series against the Yankees. The Mariners won Game 2, 2-1 in 11 innings. This was a game that felt like a classic Seattle Mariners baseball game. It felt like the Seattle Mariners of 2021 and 2022 came back to life last night and showed us what this team can be when they have their starting pitching at their best. Bryan Woo shoved on the mound. 6 1/3 innings, 4 hits, 6 strikeouts, no runs, no walks. He threw 53% four-seam fastball. He told the Yankees hitters, here's what I got for you. I'm going to throw it right down there for you, right downtown. And how about you hit it? And they didn't. They weren't able to do it. His four-seam produced 10 whiffs, 4 called strikes, so that's 14 called strike plus whiffs, 11 foul balls, and just 7 balls in play on 28 swings. He had 20 called strike plus whiffs total last night. He had 9 flyouts, 9 hard hit balls against him, and then the bullpen came in for Woo and shoved. But back to Woo. The Mariners needed a big start from Woo. They needed length. They needed a very low-scoring outing. They needed someone to come in and show what this Mariners rotation can and will be once they are back healthy. Because this is the Mariners line. This is the Mariners starting pitching and rotation. This is what you come to expect. This is what you've come to know. This is what that rotation is when they are healthy. They have just not been healthy. So to see that from Bryan Woo was a good feeling. It was a positive feeling. It was something that pushes you into today's Wednesday matinee ball game at 1:10. Where maybe you can go steal Game 3 with Luis Castillo on the mound. Maybe he can find a little bit of shades of 2022, 2023 Luis Castillo. And let the Mariners get what would be a huge series win against the New York Yankees. Into the bullpen, though. And this is where this game started to feel like 2022. It started to feel like a very specific game in 2022, when the Seattle Mariners walked off the New York Yankees in 13 innings. And this was one of those games over the past 3 years where you remember it. It's one of those huge games. And it felt very similar throughout the game, especially once the bullpen came in. The bullpen was lights out. Gabe Spire, 2/3 of an inning, 2 strikeouts. Matt Brash, 8th inning against the top of the Yankees lineup, throws an inning, scoreless, 2 Ks, including 3 straight sliders to Aaron Judge, who has been 150% above league average as a hitter this year. He goes slider away, slider away, slider away, sits him TF down. Matt Brash was huge. That was a massive inning from him, a massive strikeout from him. It was what you needed in the moment. It's what you need to see from him continually. And that's the guy that you have come to know in the back of your bullpen. And when you have Brash and Munoz in the back of the bullpen looking like they did, and like they have, if you get that brash and the Munoz you've gotten so far this year, good luck to any team. Any team that is trailing by the time the 8th inning rolls around. Because Matt Brash, Andres Munoz, they will sit you down real quick. Following Brash, you went to Munoz, who gave up a run. It was unearned. A Dylan Moore error. It was the only run against the bullpen the entire, 4 and 2/3 innings that they threw. The only run. It was an unearned run. Dylan Moore error. Munoz gets 1 strikeout. Carlos Vargas pitches 1 inning, 2 Ks. He pitches the 10th. Legumina pitches the 11th. He throws an inning, doesn't get a K, but he walks just 1, no hits. Big time inning from him. Again, lights out from the bullpen last night, and you needed it. You needed the bullpen to have a night like that where you can show that you have the potential to be dangerous, where you have the potential to shut down any lineup, including maybe and probably the best lineup in the entire league. You said, screw it. Let's go blank them. Almost. They basically blanked them. They should have blanked them. In terms of offensively, just in terms of hard hit balls from guys you don't necessarily expect that from, Mitch Garver had 3, Solano had 2, Ben Williamson had 2. And what you needed to do in this start was get Max Fried out early. And that's exactly what they did. They forced Max Fried out after 5 innings. And part of that is due to Donovan Solano. Donovan Solano in the 4th inning had a 12-pitch at bat against Max Fried. Fried ended with 91 pitches. That single-handedly took an inning off of Fried's night. If that's just a 2-pitch at bat, or a 1-pitch at bat, he's at 81, 82 pitches heading into the 6th. That's easily another inning from him, and that's a quality start for Max Fried. But no, you don't allow him to do it. That's the fewest innings Fried has thrown since the very first start of his season. Massive from the lineup. When you are facing a elite starter like Max Fried is, that's what you have to do. Work your at-bats, get into the bullpen, force them out early, and that's what they did. However, the lineup still struck out 13 times, including 3 by JP. I wanted to see if that was due to lefty-lefty, and I'm sure part of it was, but not crazy splits for him. 117 WRC plus versus lefty, 129 WRC plus against righties. And in terms of just strikeout percentage, his strikeout percentage is actually lower against lefties, so take with that what you will. What the Mariners did do a good job of for the most part last night was not chasing. And that's part of why they didn't have a whole lot of walks, was that the Yankees pitchers were a lot of the time in the zone. The only guy the Mariners really chased a whole lot against was Fernando Cruz. And I understand why, because his splitter is disgusting. I mean, just being at the ballpark and seeing some of the swings and then watching it on the TV, watching it on my phone, whatever, it falls out. And part of that's due to him having only 800 RPMs on that thing, but I mean, just disgusting, filthy, all of that. But against Max Fried, Mariners only chase 21% of the time, that's great. A 21% chase, you will take every time. Fernando Cruz, 46% chase, Leiter, 50, Weaver, 25, Williams, 40, and 0 against Tim Hill. That was 3 pitches. He pitched the 11th. This was the type of win that the Seattle Mariners needed. They needed a win that was just a good vibes only win, a walk-off win, whatever that was going to be. However you're going to do it. Was it a blowout? Was it a walk-off? They needed a win at home against a good ball club where you sort of played your game and you got that win. And that is exactly what happened last night. You got the win. You played Mariners baseball to get that win. And it was massive. It was fun to watch. It was intense. It was stressful. It was anxiety-inducing. It was everything that Mariners baseball has been and should be. That said, we got some news this morning. Bryce Miller heading to the injured list, the 15-day injured list with right elbow inflammation. Now, immediate reaction was, whoa, okay, they finally did it. But elbow inflammation, and that's where you get a little bit nervous, you get a little bit worried. And I saw that and I was like, oh, Did they overdo it? Is this actually something we should be worried about? And well, it sounds like maybe. It doesn't sound like crazy. It doesn't sound too big of a deal. It sounds like he's supposed to be back after those 15 days pretty quickly, if not right after those 15 days, according to Justin Hollander. It's not UCL related, which is where the worry would be in the elbow for the most part, and he received a cortisone shot. It's the type of thing, it sounds like, where he just sort of, he needed a break anyway, and they gave it to him. Now, with that, I don't really know what they're going to do with the rotation. You might need to trade for someone. Kirby's at least one turn for Bryce away from being back. Gilbert's still about a month away-ish, probably. And the guys you have right now in your rotation just are, you can't trust them, especially to go deep in games. I mean, if you can go get a guy that's like a solid 5-starter and that can just go, throw 6 innings, give up 2-3 runs, or throw 7 innings, give up 2-3 runs, that's exactly what I'm wanting. Just a guy that's going to go out there and throw quality starts, eat some innings, and give the Mariners a chance to potentially win if their offense has a good day. And not like a crazy good day, just a solid day. If the offense can go score 5 runs and their starter will give them an opportunity without having to eat a ton of the bullpen up. That's exactly what I'm asking for. And they don't have anyone in-house that's going to be able to do that. So is it time to maybe go look elsewhere and pick up someone? Because it has been injury after injury after injury. So what is next? It feels like there's another injury down the road. But who is it to? When will it happen? And I don't want there to be no depth available when that inevitably happens. Back to Bryce Miller, though. The reason this is frustrating and it's happening now is because of the other injuries. It's like what I just said. They don't have a ton of depth. They don't have really any left. And it's frustrating. On Bryce, his fastball velocity has been down about a mile an hour compared to last year on average. Sinker down about half mile an hour. He's getting less whiff, and he's walking way more hitters. The walking has been the biggest difference between Bryce Miller in 2024 and Bryce Miller in 2025. He has nearly doubled his walk percentage. In 2024, he walked 6.4% of hitters. This year, it is skyrocketed to 12.1%. That is a massive difference. It's been probably the biggest reason for Bryce Miller's struggles. It's frustrating. He hasn't been able to find the fastball at the top rail, like we've talked about. He hasn't been able to find the fastball at all. He hasn't been able to find any consistency with any of his pitches. It feels like one day he has his fastball, the next with no off-speed pitches. The next day he has maybe a splitter with nothing else. Maybe it's a slider or sweeper with nothing else. It just doesn't feel like everything's come together yet, and part of that is due to him having soreness and fatigue, and he's talked about that after multiple starts. Just Sunday, he was talking about that, feeling like he just hasn't had a start where he feels the same in the 6th as he did in the 1st inning. And you can look at that just in terms of velocity dipping. You notice it when he's pitching. If you're watching the game closely, you see him sitting 95, 96 early in the game, specifically 95 a lot. And then all of a sudden, it's dropped to 92, 93, and it's sitting there from the 2nd, 3rd inning on. Why that's happening, often we don't know. But you can take a guess. It's partly due to that fatigue. And it seems like he just needs a break. And we've talked about this multiple times. So hopefully he can come back from this 15-day IL stint ready to go, raring to go. And he can be there, and he can be back to the Bryce Miller we expected at the start of the season, the Bryce Miller we expected in March during spring training, the Bryce Miller we expected after his first start, where he looked dominant, specifically at the start of his outing. Can that Bryce Miller come back? Because if that Bryce Miller can come back, massive, clutch. This team needs it. You get Bryce Miller, Logan Gilbert, George Kirby. If you get those 3 guys, plus the Brian Wu we've gotten, this team looks completely different. You're going to win a lot of baseball games with the offense you've had. It would be massive. Now, another option is to maybe go trade for a guy. How many teams are going to be willing to trade this early? You don't really know, and it might be none. But the teams that I listed off that maybe would be able to: the Marlins, the White Sox, the Rockies, the Angels, who probably would not trade with us, and maybe the Orioles or Pirates. In terms of those teams, I identified a few guys. The first guy, Sandy Alcantara. Cy Young winner a few years ago. Went through Tommy John. Has come back and has not been very good. Is this a thing where he takes a change of scenery and you can maybe fix him up a little bit and all of a sudden this guy is dominant and a massive part of your rotation? Is this a guy that the Marlins would be willing to trade low on? What would the package look like? Would the Mariners be willing to eat a little bit of money that it would cost to get Alcantara? Do they believe in what he could do? These are all questions that you have to ask. And in terms of a package, what are the Marlins looking for? Are you going to have to go send them a Tyler Locklear for Sandy Alcantara, guy with maybe some upside that you don't see potentially playing for the big league club? Are you going to have to send them maybe it's just a random guy and it's a couple other guys? Are they going to be asking for a Harry Ford out of nowhere? Are they going to be asking for a pitcher? What are they going to be asking for? Do they want to go get someone for their bullpen? What type of stuff are they looking for? And it's very likely not MLB guys right now, but maybe it is because they do have some guys in their rotation. They have young guys that have a lot of potential. Max Meyer, Yuri Perez, who is hurt right now, Edward Cabrera. And would they be willing to trade a guy like Max Meyer or Edward Cabrera? And if they are willing to trade them, are the Mariners interested in doing that? Because all of a sudden then you have a massive, massive group of starting pitching. When all you really need is a guy that's really a rental. Is Cal Quantrill that guy who has been very poor this year, but maybe you feel like you can fix him? Maybe you go to the Rockies and you ask for Kyle Freeland. Something like that. Maybe you go to the Angels and you ask for Tyler Anderson on a cheap. Or maybe you like one of the Orioles starters who has struggled, but you believe you can get fixed. Or maybe you go to the Pirates and you say, well, look, Andrew Heaney's having a hell of a season. We want him now. You don't know what he's going to do the rest of this year. We want him now. We'll pay a little bit up. Maybe that's where you go. And you go get Andrew Heaney for this rotation, a lefty. A veteran lefty that can pitch very well and has experience in the postseason, has experience on playoff teams, has experience in general, just a very experienced, solid starter. It gives you a lefty in your rotation, which you don't have and haven't had since Robbie Ray left. The question is, what would the Mariners be looking for? Are they looking for someone on a cheap? Are they looking for someone that maybe they think they can have as a mainstay more in the rotation? And that maybe they can fix and then trade him later for some bats. There are a lot of options on how they would maybe want to go about a trade. But in my opinion, it's time to go do that now if you can. How many teams would be willing to do that? I don't know. But if you can go do that and you can go get someone to fill your rotation, even just until Bryce Miller gets back, and maybe you have then a little extra time to sort of wait on him and allow him to sort of feel better and get back to form and do some rehab starts and all these different things. There's advantageous things that maybe you just need to do and go get a starter. These are all questions that Jerry Dipoto, Justin Hollander should be asking themselves, the team, Dan Wilson, their staff. They should be calling teams, seeing what they can get. Because if you can go add on Andrew Heaney, and he's probably my favorite out of any of these guys, if you can go add an Andrew Heaney, you're looking at your rotation, you're feeling a lot better tomorrow. Because all of a sudden you have multiple guys that you all of a sudden feel good about. But what do you expect from Luis Castillo? What do you expect from Bryce Miller when he's back? What do you expect from George Kirby, Logan Gilbert when they get back? These are all questions you got to ask because you got to have your rotation for this team to be successful. They need it, and they need it now. So that's all for today's episode of On the Diamond Into the Deep. As always, Mahal is here. We will be back tomorrow for episode 70. We will be recapping today's ball game as well as previewing the series against the San Diego Padres for this weekend. If you haven't already, make sure you follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at Diamond and Deep on all of those. If you are watching this on YouTube, go get the audio on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. If you are listening to this via audio platform, go like, subscribe, watch on YouTube to get the video format, and that would be at Diamond and Deep or on the Diamond and Into the Deep podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening. Let's go get a series win. Go Mariners. And as always, peace.